All right, Mike, let's move on to the Jets. They're at number 3. They've made a lot of moves. They've added a lot of players.
Yes, they have.
And the narrative I'm seeing, whether or not those players are good, we'll talk about in a sec, that this just kind of locks them into Quinnen Williams. They've added, some talent to the defensive side of the ball, that this gives them that chance to get Quinnen Williams, the other blue chip talent, the interior defensive lineman. That's probably the closest thing we've seen since Aaron Donald. However, I think the debate is, can you lose sight of the blue chip player and trade down? Because if you're in it for the long term, I love the trade down for the Jets.
This locks him into Quinnen Williams. I think this locks him into Josh Allen, Steve.
Really?
They re-signed Henry Anderson. They have Leonard Williams there on the interior. Quinnen, I'm not saying he's redundant. He can play on that front three with them, but edge. They wanted Anthony Barr so badly that they were going to overpay him to try to just see what he could do as a pass rusher off the edge. I think Josh Allen's going to be too much to pass up there with just they've had that need at edge for over a decade, it seems like.
Maybe I'm thinking of this more before the Henry Anderson signing recently, but we've always looked at this as Bosa and Quinnen, and then, Josh Allen right behind those guys. All right, so in that scenario, is it Josh Allen versus the trade down? Maybe you grab another mid-first edge and then just continue to add picks, because we keep talking about last year they made a big move to go get Sam Darnold. They gave up a ton of draft capital. Now is your chance. You get the opportunity to sit at 3, have someone else trade up, potentially. There needs to be a market. Trade down and accumulate as many picks as possible to build.
2 and 3, 49ers and Jets, both ideal scenarios. Someone falls in love with the quarterback, tries to go up and get them. That's your ideal scenario. For either of those teams, you have too many needs to say one guy is going to solve all of this. So I do think the way their free agency moves went, running back, linebacker, where they paid big money, slot receiver, those are not, they weren't drafting those high anyway.
Right.
They weren't going to be, that weren't going to be their first round picks anyway, not necessarily premium positions. So I do think that just getting more players, more shots at those premium positions in the first round, because there are some good corners, there are some good edge players even after the top 5.
Right.
Get a couple shots at those guys.
Yeah, I'm all about, if let's say they could trade down to 12 or 13, you can get like a Cleveland Farrell, and then if you get an extra second rounder in there, grab a couple corners.
Yeah.
And then, those 3 players, let's say 2 second-round corners, and say Cleveland Farrell, who's a lesser pass rusher, we think, than Josh Allen, you're weighing those 3 players, essentially, or 2 of those players versus just a Josh Allen. Cleveland Farrell and a corner versus Josh Allen at 4.
Yes.
I'll take my chances on the 2 players over the 1.
Exactly.
If they are forced to pick at 3, are you just taking Quinnen Williams out of the equation now because of Henry Anderson and Leonard Williams? Leonard Williams could walk.
I don't. Again, between Quinnen Williams and Josh Allen, I would rather have Quinnen Williams. He is safer to me. I think he's going to be a better NFL player. And neither of those guys play the same position as Williams could. Williams can play over the nose. That could be his full-time role in your defense. But at the same time, the edge need, you can't argue with the need, and just the way kind of the Jets have been rolling. They've been trying to fill needs.
The 15-year need.
The way they're rolling here. And so Josh Allen, need, talent, a lot of the stars aligning there.
What are your thoughts on the actual re-signings by the Jets, or signings and re-signings by the Jets? Le'Veon Bell, the big money at running back. C.J. Mosley, big money at inside linebacker. Jamison Crowder at slot corner, as you mentioned. Henry Anderson re-upping on the defensive interior. Of course, we like that. We've always loved Henry. But Le'Veon Bell and C.J. Mosley, the big splash signings.
It's just they're not premium positions. And Le'Veon Bell obviously took a year off. One running back's not going to change your running game. You need to have the offensive line in front of them to help as well. And then C.J. Mosley, he's just never been more than a solid linebacker. Now, solid linebacking play is great. Darren Lee was very inconsistent over the course of his career. You'd much rather have Mosley than Darren Lee, what we've seen from him in recent years. But at that point, it's still a linebacker. There's only so much impact he can make. And then someone like Mosley, who's not an athletic playmaking linebacker, more just a solid zone coverage linebacker, at that point, you're not really – I don't see the needle moving too much with either of those moves.
Yeah, I think overall the roster has gotten better. The question is by how much and for all of that money.
Yes.
Is the other question. They also had a ton of money that they needed to spend that was just out there. There's still a lot of question marks.
Take just those 2 moves. You add Le'Veon Bell, C.J. Mosley to their offense and defense respectively. If you just signed one Trey Flowers for maybe $5 million more than you had to pay Mosley, that's going to make more of an impact to me than either of those guys.
Really? Trey Flowers?
Just one Trey Flowers on the edge is going to impact more plays than those guys would.
Instead of Mosley or Bell.
Yeah.
I will say this about Bell. We've always loved his pass game versatility, the ability to play a little bit, split out wide and all that stuff. That should, pair with Darnold's
It's a good
skill
addition.
set.
It is a good addition to that offense, especially for Sam Darnold, where he throws his route, where he was throwing his routes last year.